You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome back to another episode of Invest in Yourself, the podcast series. I'm, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. And today I have the most dopest, most confident person in the whole wide world. They are the host of the Dope Confident podcast. I have been a recent guest on it. Amazing conversation we had. I am so happy to have Ehmandah Ramsey. Ehmandah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Phil. I wanted to hear that air horn.
I don't have the air horn yet. I'm going to put the air horn in just before, so people are like, what? What's going on? There we
right. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. We recorded your episode some time ago, and it was such a great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like talking to an old friend. So it's good to see you, friend.
It's been amazing seeing you again, friend. I love that episode. I go back every once in a while, watch it. I'm like, oh my God, I look so handsome.
Oh my God.
No, I left. It was the show notes will have the link there so other people can go, Phil, you're not that handsome in that episode. Trust me. But enough about me. I want to talk about you, Ehmandah.
Okay.
You host the Dope Confidence podcast. Now, that's a very interesting podcast because, you know, you have people who are dope, you have people who are confident, and you got them bringing it together. But I want to know, what started you in the podcasting world?
Wow. Well, I had a co-working space. I owned and operated a co-working space I started in 2016. So around 2018 or so, I was like, you know what? I think I want to start a podcast. And so, well, some of you don't know, but I have a storytelling night for women. So I said, you know what? I'm already doing stories live on stage. Let's go ahead and move it over to the podcast world. So I started my first podcast, and it was called Hey Sugar, because that's a term of endearment from the South that I use all the time. So whenever I see people, I'll be like, how you doing, Sugar? Hey, Sugar. So people know me. When they see me, they're like, hey, Sugar, how you doing? So the podcast was called Hey Sugar. And I just talked to people about just life stuff, about the things that they've experienced, the pain, the hurt, the good and the bad, and how it shaped them to who they are today. So then after probably about, 20 episodes or so, kind of got really busy. And you already know with a podcast, you need to be consistent. So I kind of dropped the ball with it. And I just kind of like, you know what, I'm put this on the back burner. So during the pandemic, I said, I think it's time for me to think about podcasting again, because this is an opportunity to share my personal experience about what I'm going through. So still was on the back burner. And then probably maybe just a few months ago this year, I'm like, you know what? I need to talk about my journey of building my confidence again, because I lost my confidence or had a lack of confidence because of all the things I experienced during the pandemic and post-pandemic, with me shutting down my business, going through a breakup, all these different life changes that I had. I wanted to share my own personal story of building my confidence as an entrepreneur to help other people that are entrepreneurs and are aspiring entrepreneurs, that to know that you can start over again. You can begin again. Look at your failures as something that can teach you a lesson. We talked about that before.
Mhm.
So that's why I wanted to do it. I wanted to be able to share my story and the stories of others so people can be inspired.
I love that. And
Yeah.
so when you put down Hey Shug, or Hey Sugar,
Hmm.
which which is always hard for a podcaster because it's like that's our baby, that's our like our child, and you
Yeah.
put it down, and she's still there, she's still probably getting downloads and stuff. What lessons did you learn from that podcast that you were able to correct, if you will, when you launched Dope Confidence?
Mm. From our conversation, I really learned how to really niche down with my podcast, because it was very open, right? It was very broad. And I wanted to make sure that I reached an audience that was in alignment with who I am and who I have been called to serve. So that lesson was to really niche down and serve who I'm called to serve, not just in person live, but also through this podcast. And to also build community, to really make sure that I'm present and that people know who I am and understand my personality and get to know me a lot better through my podcast. And I never thought about that. I was just having conversations, but like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to really create community this time around and to connect with people. So those are probably like the top two things that I've learned. And I also learned how to edit. And kind of be a one-man show and do everything myself. I had someone in the beginning and he wasn't available to help me out. Shout out to Steven. So I'm like, I had to do it myself. I had to learn how to edit and how to record, and that really strengthened me as a podcast host to be able to jump in when I need to get things done.
I like that. And
Hmm.
now that you're running this podcast, the Confidence podcast, how did the name come along? Because it's an interesting name.
Yeah.
It's not one that you normally see for podcasts, because a lot of people are like, got to be SEO, got to be like focused on the name, got to be connected to the business or whatever it is. But you're going like kind of totally opposite, because you're like, I don't really care about the SEO. I want people to know that this podcast is for people who are going to be dope and going to have confidence and get that dope confidence, because dope confidence is something very specific and
Yeah.
not a lot of people have it. People can be confident, but they can't be dope, you
Right.
know.
It's
um
it's it's really connected to my love for hip hop. Like I look at all of my businesses that I've had, it's all connected to hip hop. First community, of course, but hip hop is like the common theme. I have a little food pop up that I do every now and then called Eat Toast. Every toast is named after a hip hop artist or a song. When
oh,
I have my co-working space, the first wall that you walk into says, "Can I kick it?" And at the bottom, "Yes, you can." And then I had another wall that said, "It's the tribe, y'all." So everything is connected to hip hop. So dope is a word that comes from the hip hop culture. So, that's dope, or, he's dope, she's dope. And so I'm like, wow, I love hip hop. How can I incorporate who I am in this podcast and what I love, which is hip hop? And I say dope a lot of the times. And then also my struggle, the things that I've learned how to build up is confidence. So dope is who I am. I know my superpower. I know that I'm an amazing human being, and then I'm confident about it. So dope confidence.
I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
like that's on brand for who you are, which I love. Again, your podcast needs to be on brand, and I love how you're subverting the genre of branding podcasts by making
Mm,
it go beyond just who you are, but also into the communities that you're a part of. Like, yes, you're building your community with the dope confidence, but you're bringing the community of hip hop over, and the people who are working on their confidence over into your little
yeah.
community to become dope confident people. With this podcast, have you seen different struggles than you did with the Hey Sugar podcast?
Um, you know, with Hey Sugar, and I wouldn't even say struggles because I've learned so much, over my episodes of doing, podcasting. But I think there hasn't really been a lot of struggle with this one. because I've learned through my entrepreneurial journey to outsource. And so I said, you know what? Let me find somebody hit me up on Instagram and said, "Hey, I'm a podcast assistant. I help one of your followers find podcast guests." And I'm like, okay. Because that was a struggle for me back then to really get guests. But this time around, I was like, you know what? Let me take advantage of that. Let me outsource so I can save time and really focus on what I'm gifted to do. So I hired this podcast assistant, and she's been able to find me guests. And that's been a game changer this time around, because it was kind of hard back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're taking the lessons you learned in your entrepreneurial journey, which is one, hiring people, because that's number one, to get your hat off so that you can focus on more what you're doing. So you hired this person to handle finding your guests. Have you hired other people, and what have that experience been like, coming from, instead of just a business, but now you're looking at it as a podcast? So you're changing your podcast into a business. How about hiring those people? What was that like?
She's the only person that I have hired, but I just recently had a conversation with one of my colleagues. I'm like, you know what? I think it's time for me to find someone to do the editing for me. Because I am an entrepreneur first and a podcast host second, those worlds intertwine for me. So I'm thinking from a business perspective, like you said, how can I be a better entrepreneur, be a better podcast host? I can outsource. I know that it's an investment. I know some people may struggle to even think about paying someone to do the work that they are already doing, but I can serve you better as a listener if I'm able to outsource. And that's just like the biggest thing that I can stress to people that are trying to do a podcast on their own. There's people that you can find on Fiverr, or even some local colleagues that you have where you guys can barter. I love to call it the good exchange with each other, so that you can focus on being a host and having someone do the work for you.
I like that. That's great. And I also love the bartering system.
Yeah.
Because that just harks back to building a community, because the more community members you have, the more chances that you can be like, hey, I can't do editing. I can, but they can't do marketing. And you're like, I can do marketing, or I can do this for you. And you have this whole system that you're building up everybody to go to the next level.
And it's so helpful. I have a client that I was doing some personal branding services for last year, and I have a few creators, right? A content creator friends, and I was like, hey, you guys, my client wants to start a podcast. You do content. You're a really great speaker, a great orator, a wordsmith. How about we all come together and help each other grow as a collective? One of them became the podcast host. Another one is doing the content on social media. So like you said, it's the bartering system. It's building the community so we can all help each other grow to a level of our brand awareness. And then once we grow, then we send that person out and bring some other people in.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And it's just, and you're helping people build the skills without fear of their, like, I know when I get hired that I'm like, am I going to be worth this money? Like, I get worried about that. And when you're coming in with the bartering, it's like you have that pressure's off you, because like, if I mess up, I make a mistake, it's not costing them technically money, because I can fix it and it's free, but it also gets the skills up, so that the next time I go to apply to a job in the same field, I have more skills. I have that experience that we keep hearing about. You need to have 5 years experience with something that's only been around for 2 years.
Right. How's that possible?
Yeah, it's funny. I keep reminding of this gentleman who invented a language for computers, and it had only been around a short time. And he's like, apparently, the guy who created, I'm not qualified for this job that asked for 5 years experience on the program that I made.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's insane what some companies want. But we're not talking about the crazy corporate world. We're talking about podcasting, the Dope Confidence podcast.
Yeah.
I want to know, what's one lesson you've learned from the podcast? either from a guest or from doing the episodes of the Dope Confidence?
I think I've learned a personal lesson that I can do this. I can do this. Something that I've been hoping for a long time, that I actually can do this. And you and I talked about this on my podcast about starting. Like that was like the hardest thing. Like, how am I going to do this? I don't have a team of people. How am I going to learn how to edit? And I did it. And that was the biggest lesson. Like I can do it.
I like it. I love that. And it gives you the confidence, makes you
Yeah.
more dope.
Mhm.
And when you do hire that editor, you already have a basic knowledge. So you're already
Yes.
to be like, hey, this is what the bare minimum I want. And then the editor can be like, oh, we could take this to the next level,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And showcase some stuff. And you get to learn more because if you need to step in editing, you have an editor that can teach you if
Yeah.
ever that's needs, and you have that basis knowledge. Where do you want your podcast to go? What is the goal, if you will? I know we are not, as podcasters, we have download goals and all that, but
Yes.
I don't really care about the downloads because that just comes with time. What is the goal you have with this podcast? Like, what is it, something you want to see benefit from
Such
this
a
podcast?
good question, Phil.
10 years,
You're
I think I would have some good questions somewhere.
you're always trying to make folks feel better, but you also really made me think. Like our conversation that we had, I often think about that, and about my podcast. Um, and I'm just gonna be honest and 100. On your show is like, when I started, I was just like, I'm just gonna do a podcast. I didn't have any goals. I didn't have a focus. I just wanted to share. But since our conversation, I have really been thinking about, where do I want Dope Confidence Podcast to go? What impact do I want to bring? Number one, I already know it's for entrepreneurs and confidence and building your self esteem as an individual. But what more do I want? I want to, of course, have a podcast that reaches across the United States and to other countries, but I also want to be able to do live podcast, in studio, if you want to call it that, with a live audience. Like that's really what I love. I thrive off of that. For those that don't know, I'm a singer. I'm a musician. I play piano and keys, and I love performing live. And it's just really a big part of who I am. So you know, if I do my due diligence and be consistent in building that community that I know that Dope Confidence Podcast can have, I want to be able to do a live podcast and have people come and have merch available. So that's my vision. I would like to see that this year. I would like to do a live podcast for my birthday in October.
I'm guaranteeing that you're going to do it. I have the feeling you don't seem like someone that goes, oh, this is a goal I have, and it just sits there getting all
Uh-huh.
dusty, like a trophy or something. I feel like you're the one who breaks the glass and goes, pull in case of emergency. You're going to do it, and I have no doubt, and I can't wait to hear about it because
Oh man.
since I've been on your podcast, I've been following you, and it's amazing.
Thank you. I mean, I can see it. Like, I want to interview like the guy that interviews the hip hop artists and the actors for Complex in the sneaker store. So I
Mhm.
would love to be able to do the live podcast with an audience, or go on location to, interview a chef while he's cooking and talking about, how did you develop the confidence to start your own restaurant. I would love to do that. I love
Oh,
it. Yeah.
I have no doubt that these little gems that you're dropping is going to happen. You're going to be at the complex interviewing the guy while he's interviewing a hip hop
Right.
artist. How did you get the confidence to do this? How did you buy this shoe?
Right.
That triple interview going on at the same time. I
Oh
can see that
my
happening.
God.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be an insane episode of your podcast that you have on YouTube.
Yeah.
With your podcast, you're on YouTube, you're on the social medias and all that.
Yeah.
What is the interaction you get with your audience from and your community when you do post about a new episode?
Mm. I get some comments of people, a lot of hearts, of course,
Mhm.
and then personal side conversations that I have with individuals saying, that was a really good episode, and really quoting some of the things that my guests have said, and I'm like, wow, okay, people are really listening. They're really paying attention, and it's been very helpful for a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that are kind of like stuck in the closet and they don't want to fully come out and say who they are because of fear. But it's been helpful to kind of give them that gentle push to do it.
When you receive those messages, because as a podcaster, sometimes it's a very one-sided conversation we have with our audience, right?
Mhm.
Us talking into a microphone or us interviewing a guest, and we don't really get that feedback from our
Yeah.
audience all the time, or in real time, if you will. When you do receive those messages of people saying, hey, I listened to XYZ's episode and they said this, and they quote something and it really touched me. What does it do to your confidence as a host and as a person when you receive
Yeah.
those types of comments?
Man, it makes me feel good, Phil. It makes me feel not only feel better, but it makes me feel good on the inside. I had to throw that in there.
It's fine. I love it. I love it. I love it.
It really makes me feel good. It's like I am in alignment with my colleague. I am on target. I am doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm loving it when I hear people tell me that. Yeah.
Uh, have you had any situations where you're in person have received those comments about guests, about hosts, about listeners hearing an episode and giving you feedback?
I have.
Oh,
And,
you're
I'm
so
like all
lucky.
humble about it. I'm like, oh man, thank you. I really appreciate that. But on the inside of me, like, man, that's that. Yeah. Cause sometimes you need to hear that, right? Cause it's like you said, it's so one-sided. And sometimes, you need to hear that from other people because it boosts your confidence. It reminds you of why you're doing what you're doing and how it's really resonating with the community. So we need those things. We
I
need
love
them.
it. And I'm glad that you've had those opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous. I'm still waiting for mine. I get them in the emails and that. I'm still waiting for my random person in the in the wild, getting told that they enjoyed the episodes.
Yeah.
Um, and it's going to come. I know it's going to come.
Oh
Everybody
yeah.
has their time. I want to know, with your podcast, have you had any guests that failed to live up to what you expected the episode to be?
I have.
I know that, but I have to get it onto to my audience. Like I got to tease them a bit.
Yeah. I was like, this is a little off brand. I had a couple people. They're a little off brand. I'm like, you're just really not what I thought you would be. You're not a good fit for my podcast. And those happen, right? It's kind of hit or miss. They happen, but I've learned to be, especially with my podcast assistant, to be very what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say adamant, but I've been very
Diligent.
diligent, yes, with her, expressing to her, okay, this is who I'm looking for. This is my ideal guest. So but surprisingly, I had this one guest out when I saw their information, I was like, totally not my person. Like, why? And I wanted to get out of the interview so bad. I'm just being honest. Like, countdown, I was like, I I don't know if I want to interview this person because I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste my time. And it's just not going to be a good fit for my audience. But I was strategically able to flip it to really connect with that person from an inner self perspective and was able to pull that out of them. I'm like, okay, I was able to do that. And I've been working a lot on that with me being an interviewer, with me being a podcast host. If I get somebody that is not a good fit, how can I pull out of them uh, whatever my theme is for my podcast, confidence. How can I pull that confidence conversation out of them, even though they may be a business analyst? You know, seriously, like
I love how you're improving. Like, yes, you have some guests that may not fit the typical bill, and
yeah,
you get that feeling of, I don't really want to do this episode because I don't know if it's going to be a good episode.
yeah,
However, you're taking it in on yourself to learn how you can pull out, become a better interviewer, a better host,
hmm
so that those questionable, we'll call them questionable or semi touching on the podcast can actually become a beneficial episode.
yes.
Um, let's say you go through the full episode, you record. Before you even get into that, do you do pre-interviews with your guests, or do you just see them the first time on the show?
Great question again. I do not do pre-interviews, but I have a conversation for the first 10 to 15 minutes before we start the episode.
Okay.
So I receive their information, I check out their social media, I look at their website, see if there's anything in there that I could pull out, that's in alignment with confidence. And then from there, I have this 10 to 15-minute conversation with them to really try to do a little deeper dive. But pre-interview was something that I've thought about after we had our conversation. I'm like, I probably should move forward and do that.
Well, you kind of do with your few 10 to 15 minutes beforehand. You do get that opportunity to pull
Mm-hmm.
in, at least say, okay, I think I can work with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And I always love the first 15-minute conversations because it loosens the lips. It gets everything jiving and ready, jucking and jivings, if you will. I'll pull in some hip hop terms, I guess. For
I don't know, but
I don't know how much of it, but yes, you get everybody. One, you get everybody loose and relaxed because a lot
yeah.
of people feel intimidated on a podcast because it's like
Mm-hmm.
an interview. I have to be professional. Um, with those 15 minutes, do you see like a breakdown of the person's cold exterior or their exterior wall that most of these professionals may have?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do. And I think, like you said, it kind of loosens the lips or it brings a little bit more calmness to the situation, makes them comfortable. Because I really try to make the conversation feel like you're having a conversation with an old friend. And I want you to feel like I'm your old friend and we're catching up and you're just, sharing about your updates in your life and how you got through.
I
So,
love it. And I have to say, you do make every guest feel like that. I know you shared with me that one of your friends listened to the episode and like, have you guys been friends forever?
right.
Which I
This
think
guy.
I met him like 5 minutes ago. He's
Right.
crazy, some Canadian. Um, I love that because you have this warm presence, and if my audience can't get it from your voice, like check out the video because you just have this open feeling.
Mm.
You're smiling all the time. You make everybody just feel comfortable in your presence, and I have to hat off to you for that
Oh,
because
thank you.
it is a difficult thing to do as a podcast host. As someone who's been on multiple podcasts, I know how it's easy. I love to talk and hear my voice all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but most hosts don't have that ability to just like it's just
Mm.
calm. Everything's just good. I feel in good hands. I don't feel worried that this episode or this recording is going to be detrimental to either brand. And you have that ability, and I think it comes from your ability to sing, your
Mm.
joys of just bringing value to people. So hats off to you for that, because that's a skill not many people have.
Well, thank you. You know what, Phil? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. Duh, 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 duh. Right? You
Yeah,
want to feel like that.
Yeah, I always tried to do that. I had a bar that like that, but then I was like, wait, this may be an issue when they know my name so well. So I kind
They're
of
always glad you came. Hey, Phil,
hey,
another one.
Phil's here. Phil's here. We can pay our bill today. Phil's here. Um, I podcasting so much fun. Bringing up memories that should stay hidden
Right.
sometimes. But Amanda, we are coming to the end, which I hate because we talk and it feels like it's only just begun, but we're already nearly half an hour into this conversation.
Can y'all
Uh,
believe it? I can't
I
believe
can't.
it.
Like you said, we're like old friends. We just chit chat and time flies.
Right.
And I think that's a testament to both of our skills as
Mm-hmm.
podcasters. I would love for you to leave. There's two questions I have. The first one is, what's one piece of advice you would give aspiring podcasters right now that you think would help them develop their confidence in being a podcast host?
I have to go back to your words, Phil, in a conversation that we had. Just start. Your first few episodes are probably going to be your worst episodes. But just start, because you're not the only one. Just think about anything that you've ever started. It took you some time to really get your sea legs or get it moving and going. But you can do it. You really, really can do it. It's not as hard as you think. You just have to start.
I love it. Words from a master.
Words from you.
No. I didn't say that. That's fully from you. No one's heard me ever say that.
I heard you on my podcast say that.
That's true. Make sure you check out the show notes down below for the link.
Right.
Gotta support. We're coming to the end, which I hate.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to go. I want to sit and chat with you for the rest of my life.
Yes.
It's fun. I love having that, and I can't wait till we have an in-person conversation, because it's going to be excellent. However, I want to know, I have your 10-year-old self right here. What's one piece of advice you're giving your 10-year-old self?
Wow. 10-year-old self. Wow. Don't listen to the naysayers, girl. Just keep doing it. You'll figure it out.
I love it. Beautiful. I love it. Simple, to the point. And we all need to stop listening to those naysayers, because they just ruin life.
I know.
They want us to stay safe, but it's not. We're not meant to stay in the safe zones. We're supposed to color outside the lines and have fun.
My dad used to tell me all the time, like when I was a kid, I was like Denise Huxtable, right? I tried everything. I used to be a clown. I had a daycare. I had all these businesses. My dad was like, one day you're going to figure it out, Amanda. Just keep trying. You'll figure out what you're supposed to do. And I have.
I love it, Amanda. I love it. Oh, I love it. I'm going to jump off stage. I want you to tell my audience where they can listen to the Dope Confidence podcast, where they can connect with you, how they can become part of your community, because your community is dope as heck. The floor is yours.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It is your girl, Amanda, the host of the Dope Confidence podcast. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. I want you to check out the Dope Confidence podcast. Maybe you need some confidence as an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur. So you can find me on Spotify and all streaming platforms. You can find it on YouTube, and you can find me on Instagram. So check us out. We are here. We're here to give you that dope confidence that you need to achieve whatever you want to do in life.
Mic drop right there. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to become a badass entrepreneur, you want to be a dope confident entrepreneur, you definitely need to listen to the Dope Confident podcast. It's going to be in the show notes down below. I'm going to thank Amanda again. Another great conversation having with you. I love it. I love having you on. You're just a joy coming in with your bright ass smile. I have to say, your smile is like amazing. I'm so jealous of your smile. It costs $10,000 for mine. Yours looks like $1 million right now.
Thank you.
So to my audience, listen to Amanda's podcast. It's in the show notes down below. I want to thank you all for listening. Again, Amanda, thank you so much for this awesome conversation. Thank you. As always, remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.